So today we're taking a look at yet another product commercial, but this one's going to be a bit different than the others because I'm going to use the Sony A7IV for this. Disclaimer, this is not my camera. I bought it from a friend, so I'm not going to have any bias towards it. The Sony A7IV is probably the most popular Sony camera out in the market right now, especially because of the feature that it has and at the price it comes at. It's almost like the perfect hybrid camera that you can get. Now, I am a Canon user, I have always has been, but I'm planning on upgrading my camera and I'm looking at other systems as well. And I'm not gonna lie, Sony is probably on the top of that list right now, especially with the FX3. I have my eyes on that one. So when I got the chance of trying out the new Sony A7IV, I thought it was perfect. It was a perfect time. I could try out how the new Sony systems are. I have used some Sony cameras in the past and I was not that comfortable with them and not especially like the end product as well. So I thought it was a perfect timing to try out how the new Sony systems are performing. Are they good for me or not? Do they go well with my workflow for product videos and all that? So I thought it would be a great opportunity. Now, as usual, I'm going to go some of the process of how I got some of the shots in this commercial. And the product in question for this video is a honey product. So it's a bit different than what I'm used to, but some of the shots in this one is probably one of my all-time favorites. So yeah, check out for that. Now, with that said, let's dive right in. So the first shot on the list was rather simple. It was just the product in the center on the electronic turntable rotating. And I had planned to mask it out in post and add a different background to it. So the shot was quite straightforward and simple, and the lighting setup was also quite simple with just one key light on one side with some fills and backlights some here and there. So the A7IV shouldn't have any problems when it comes to doing a shot like this. I shot this scene in 4K 60 or 30, I'm not sure. And I'm not gonna lie, shooting in 4K really helped a lot when it comes to like masking out the product and, you know, adding it and compositing it with some different backgrounds and all. So you get a lot more resolution to work with for that. So the 4K did really help out in that regard. Now the next shot was probably my favorite one. It was the one with the waffles in it. So for this one, the setup was straightforward. I had the waffle on top of my tilt head and I placed it at an angle so that I can capture the flow of honey on top of it going nice and smoothly. And for this one, I hope that I had a macro lens with this because it would have given me a much better overall result. But I didn't. I had just one wide angle lens, the Sony 20mm 1.8 G Master, and the minimum focusing distance on that thing is not that great. So in the end, I put together that lens setup with the adapter extension tube with a 50mm to get the overall desirable frame. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm very happy with the results for this shot. The colors are actually really good. I didn't expect Sony colors to be that good. As I said, I have tried some older Sony cameras in the past, and I was not that satisfied with the overall results, especially since I'm used to using Canon cameras and I prefer Canon colors still overall. But I'm not gonna lie, the results were quite surprising. The colors are very true to life. They are very nice and smooth looking, if I can say that way. But I still prefer the overall Canon colors a bit better, but Sony has come a long way, I'm not gonna deny that. And I shot this scene in 1080p 120 frames per second so that I can slow it down in post. Now the good thing about this is that this A7IV didn't have any sort of crop when it comes to shooting in high frame rate mode, especially the 120 FPS. So that was a plus point. But it does have a crop in 4K 60 frames per second, a crop of 1.5 times, which was a bit of a headache to work around with. So a negative in my opinion, because I shoot a lot in high frame rate mode like 60 FPS, 120 FPS and those kind of things. So after that, the next shot was with the one with the honey dripper spoon thing. So for this one, I again shot it in at 120 frames per second, so which means I had to bump up my shutter speed as well. And I didn't have a lot of powerful lights with me. I just had this SL60W with me, which is not that powerful when it comes to like output and all. So I had to bump up the ISO. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to try out the low light capabilities of Sony camera that everyone just raves about all the time. And I'm gonna be honest, just to give you an idea, in this shot we had an ISO level of something like 4000, 5000, which is quite high. It's quite high actually, I'm not gonna lie. But the Sony A7IV has dual native ISO for S-Log3, which are 800 if I'm not wrong, and 2000. I couldn't find a definite statement which said these are the native ISOs, but on the internet, everywhere it said that it was 800 and 2000. So I thought since 4000 and 5000 ISO weren't that far off from the 2000 mark, I thought it should give me a pretty good and clean result. Since I use S-Log3, I didn't have that much experience lighting up for S-Log3, and also I just exposed it like with a plus stop of 1.7. I think I messed up a bit there. I'm gonna take responsibility for that. But in the end result, I had to boost up the overall exposure in this shot, and I noticed that when I added a stop of exposure, there was a lot of color noise in the image. So I had to use a lot of denoising for that. So that was surprising, but still it gave a pretty nice overall image with a really good amount of sharpness and just the overall color reproduction. So that was pretty good. Besides the noise thing, the overall shot turned out to be great. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to like the shooting experience. Now I'm gonna add some of my own opinions about the A7IV. So I'm gonna talk about some of the things which I liked about the design of the A7IV. So the couple of things that I liked the best were, first of all, the battery performance was quite good actually. I had to charge it like once and it went on for like a couple of hours at least. So the entire shoot we had to use like 2 batteries, which was great. And another thing is that the new photo video toggle that is on top of the A7IV is really handy. You can quickly change your camera mode from photo to video to SNQ, and trust me, I use that dial a lot, jumping from the normal video mode to the SNQ mode and here and there. So that was really handy, plus point for that. Now, besides that, I would say I was really surprised with the new Sony menu system types, because I have used some of the older Sony cameras like the A7 III, A6400 and those kind of things. But the menus on those things were not that great, especially when you compare to what I'm used to the Canon cameras, which are so much better. I still prefer the Canon menu system. It's a lot more simpler to work with. But the new menu systems on the Sony cameras were really good. It was nicely laid out everywhere. It was a lot more easier to find out what you're trying to find, like changing bit rates and resolutions and all those kind of things. And the touch assist feature to go through the menus and all helped a lot. I remember once using the A7 III and it didn't have that thing for some reason, but because the A7 III did have like a touchscreen, but it wasn't allowed to be used in the menu, which was very weird to me. And using dials and buttons for that was very stressful. So plus point for that, the touchscreen capability for the menu system and all. And besides that, there isn't much to talk about. I really like the performance of S-Log3. As I said, I didn't expose it correctly, but still the overall results with just applying like a Rec 709 LUT gives you great results. So I didn't have to do much when it comes to like color correcting, color grading. I had to fix up like a couple of things here and there, but that was because of my own mistakes, because I didn't expose it correctly in the first place. So yeah, I was quite happy with the results of S-Log3. And besides that, I didn't get a chance to try the Sony autofocus. I did use it with my, for example, right now I'm using the A7IV with the 20mm, so the autofocus seems great. I would say is on par with Canon and all. I also used it in my previous video. So yeah, the colors, the autofocusing system, the sharpness is so good on it, especially with the G Master lens. In the end, I would say I'm mostly satisfied with the performance of the A7IV, with a couple of things here and there, like the cropping in 4K 60 and all. Besides those things, the overall image quality, sharpness, the overall battery performance, and just all those things I was quite satisfied with. And if I had like a proper macro lens, I would have been able to utilize more of its power, I believe. So yeah, I would say I'm quite satisfied. And now the FX3 seems like a even better option for me to upgrade to. So yeah, that was a good experience to try out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you all in the next one.